Hola mi gente, MsMalcolmHughes back with another book review. Today we will be reviewing Boy Crazy Part 2 by Deana Dean. So in Boy Crazy Part 2, we get to see our protagonist, Chloe, go from being a young pregnant teenager to becoming a woman and having to navigate all the challenges and hardships therein. Not only does Chloe have to face the growing pains of being a young mother, but she also has to balance that while trying to figure out who to love, how to love, losing loved ones, and also trying to understand who she is as a partner, a friend, a daughter, and just a person. So with that understanding as the foundation, especially coming off of Boy Crazy Part 1, where we really see her grapple with the challenge of understanding that she's now pregnant as a teenager and what does that mean for her future, we get to see her navigating that future and really carving out for herself what that means in the life in which she wants to lead, not just for herself, but now for her daughter, Mia. So getting right into it, let's answer the pressing question. Is Boy Crazy Part 2 as good as Boy Crazy Part 1? Well, honestly, the answer is yes, for the most part. Let's talk about why. So what the book does well, the book does a really good job of allowing you to navigate different situations with the characters, so you feel as if what they're experiencing, to a certain degree, you're experiencing, especially in the case of Chloe. Unfortunately, I didn't feel the same level of exposure to other characters as I did in the first book. For example, there were moments in this book, especially the moments with Chloe and Terry, definitely more so toward the end, when I felt as if the author told me more than she showed me. And for me, that's sometimes a problem, because I want to be dropped into this world with the characters, and I want my mind and imagination to really be able to explore with them what are their inner thoughts, right? These struggles and challenges that they're going through. Just how is that impacting them? How is it changing them, right? And I didn't necessarily feel as if I got that outside of Chloe. And at some moments that was a bit off-putting, I have to say. Now, having said that, I will say I did really appreciate that about Chloe's character, especially when she was off in college and really trying to figure out, how does she do this? How does she be an independent adult, right? How does she balance that with motherhood? How does she discover who she is as a young woman when it's not only just her, right? And she's now away from home, away from her immediate support system, and really trying to figure out, how do you get new friends? How do you deal with challenges you hadn't even considered before, right? What does it mean to be a friend? How far do you go for others if you feel as if it may be causing harm and sacrifice for yourself? But then also, she just can't think about herself anymore. She also has her daughter. So what does that mean for the choices that she makes? So I thought that was a really good feature of the book. Just Chloe as a young woman trying to figure it out, and the challenges, especially dating. I thought those were really good moments, because we really get to see her go within herself and critique herself. I think another piece that was really good about this is the interpersonal relationships that Chloe has, whether that's with her parents, her friends, her grandparents, right? Partners. Will she grow and change, or will she be stagnant? I feel like that's a big question for this. In this book, I feel like it's a big question that is attempting to be answered here. Who will Chloe be? Another positive aspect of the book is that we, again, have strong characters. One of the things I really loved about Part 1 is that you had such dynamic characters that were in your face and unapologetic. I think through so much critical analysis here, you don't necessarily get that all the time, but that does still pop through. I love that Grandpa really gets more time here, and we get to figure out who he is more so as a person, and we get to see his different dynamics, and he isn't a monolithic character. He does have depth and range. Another really positive aspect is that the author does a great job of introducing different different cultures, also medical conditions, and then also how to deal with navigating and understanding one's feelings. Whether this is done intentionally or unintentionally, you really do learn more about medical diagnoses and what does that mean, and how does that shape a family and challenge them, pull them together, or push them apart. Also, the cultural elements are put in subtly, right? It doesn't feel as if the author is beating you over the head with a message, but you do still fully understand that you are being taught something through this process of reading this book. Now, with that being said, I do like the book. However, there was one big issue for me while reading this book, and that often had to do with pacing. Though the pacing of the book itself was fine, there were often moments where I felt as if there weren't clear transitions, and sometimes it just felt as if new scenes were dropped in, and that was a little jarring as a reader, because you're like, whoa, I didn't really finish processing that yet, and you've dropped me into something else without a clear conclusion. And one good example of that would be the baptism of Terry. We get a lot about Terry in this book and his growth and development into a man. However, there were sometimes just different elements where it just shifted. It wasn't always clear, okay, but how exactly did we get here? And I think so it's harder to do here because it's written not from like multiple characters' perspectives, but I think sometimes that would have been nice just to get a little bit more of the analysis, or even if Chloe could have eavesdropped or heard different conversations between Grandpa and Terry, I think that would have really helped for us to understand, the reader, how Terry had grown and developed over time. Another example, and this one really kind of shocked me, is Mia's first school experience. That definitely felt as if it was just dropped in toward the end. The pacing toward the end kind of seemed as if it was maybe a little rushed and trying to get a lot of information in, trying to wrap up a lot of loose ends. But some things needed more time to really breathe, and I didn't really feel like we got that time here, much in the same way that we did in the first book. And overall, I think it's a good book. I think it's worthwhile reading. I think definitely for young people who are coming of age and really trying to figure out who they want to be in the world, how they want to be in the world, how do others around them definitely impact their evolution. I think this book is super significant. I also think there are a ton of messages here. I do not like that one of my favorite characters is no longer in this book, but I do like that their messages that they've imparted on the protagonist definitely still come through. So even though the character that I really loved is no longer here, remnants of them are still here, so you still get that. And I think that's one of the things I really walked away from this book appreciating, which is really the lessons and the exposure. It's a beautiful story, a beautiful tale. At the end, everything isn't wrapped up in a bow, but I didn't hate the ending. I actually liked the ending. Like, I really thought about it at the end, and I was like, I don't mind it. Even though it's not wrapped up in a bow, things are resolved, and you do put the book down feeling as if, okay, I'm okay where these characters landed, even though I would have appreciated more details within certain dynamics, especially Chloe and Terry toward the end. But overall, yeah, I think it was good. I think the author did a good job. I think that the follow-up novel to the first one is often hard to do. I think this author did a solid job. Now, if I had to give this book a grade, again on a scale of A to F, my final grade would be a B. I give it a B. I think it's solid, no jarring issues, but I found myself a little less enthralled than I did in part 1. So that's my review of Boy Crazy Part 2 by Deana Dean. I have one more review coming for you this month, and that book will be Citizen by Claudia Rankin. I also still have my book giveaway going on, so you have until the end of January to enter to win Life After Death, the sequel to The Coldest Winter Ever by Sister Souljah. If you haven't entered, hurry up, you're running out of time. But you can enter that by clicking the link right up here. And that is it for me, y'all. More book reviews to come. My February book list will be coming soon, the books that I'll be reading in February. And until then, as always, I am MsMalcolmHughes, one who believes that books are sometimes better than people. And I'm signing off. Until next time, y'all, be safe and be kind to each other. Also, for those of you inquiring, I do still have buttons, my MsMalcolmHughes pins, and the details on how to get those are below.